Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. And of course, happy upcoming holidays. Guess what? Time flies when you're having fun. And it is almost Thanksgiving. It's only 1 week before Thanksgiving. So today is all about festive icicles. Not only do I have many choices in icicles for you, but I also have some surprise snowman. And who does not like surprise snowman, right? So today is really just a very fun video. It's not really so much about technique, although there's just a little bit of technique, but it's really mostly about sparkle and choices, and we are going to have fun, as we always do. So I'm going to show you my icicles, and then I'm going to show you the snowman, and I have so many different choices. I cannot possibly make each one of them during the video, but this is going to be a little bit of a show and tell, and really when it comes down to it, they're all made in very similar ways. So what I'm hoping to do is definitely make a finished piece. So we'll be making one finished piece, and then we'll just talk about some little quirky points about some of the other ones. And really all of these are so very, very simple to make. So here are all my little icicles. So we have traditional, we have kind of contemporary. I think that my Caribbean Dream icicle right here, I love this one so much because of course I love the ocean, and so this is more of on the contemporary side. And then we have some that are definitely very traditional in color and shape. And I would say the same for the snowman. We have some traditional, we have some rustic, and this is what my snowman look like.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Good evening, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Lynn O says, hi, everybody.
Hi, Lynn.
Jeline says, good evening.
And hi, Jeline.
Betty says, good evening, you guys.
Hello, Betty.
Luda says, hello, all.
Hi, Luda. I'm so glad you're watching.
Janice says, hello, Irina, and sends a heart.
Hi, Janice. And I am sending hearts to all of you guys in my heart.
Betty says, I like the big chunky one.
The big chunky one. I would say the chunkiest one is the Rococo snowman. Is that the one you like, Betty? So Rococo, of course, is the style of art that was so popular about 100 years ago, and it included lots of bright silvers and golds and a lot of this beautiful vibrant turquoise. So to me, this looks very Rococo.
Robin Lisa says hello.
Hi, Robin.
Starstruck.
Starstruck. That is the best compliment ever. Thank you so much.
Jane says these are all so much fun.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Carmen says good evening, everyone.
And good evening to you, Carmen.
Sabrina says, hey, everyone. Good evening. I love them all.
Hi, Sabrina. Oh, thank you so much for loving them all. They're all my babies, so I love that you love them.
Jolene loves the snowman.
Thank you so much, Jolene.
Angela says good evening.
Hi, Angela. Good evening.
Trudy says hi, all.
Hi, Trudy.
Betty says, I think you said the Mediterranean.
Mediterranean Dream, yes. Well, you know, I love it all.
Caribbean Dream.
Caribbean Dream?
That's
what did I say?
The Nautilus. She thought it was Mediterranean.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And you know, I'm just seeing if you're paying attention. And yes, you are. Good job. All right. So wait, is it Mediterranean? It is Caribbean
Yes.
Dream. Yes, it is Caribbean Dream. And but if you like Mediterranean better, you can call it whatever you want. So, so what do you think? Should we get started? Is it that time? I am going to say yes. So, I will say this. I have been making these icicles and snowmen for a few years now. And, you know, I probably should have grabbed some of my older pieces just because, but some of you already have pieces from previous years. And what I'm doing completely differently this year is I'm using memory wire. And yes, if you have made snowflakes, I could have grabbed some of the snowflakes that we had last week, but I didn't. However, you know, one of my preview pieces, I'll just show you my preview piece for, this is for next Friday, which I believe is actually Black Friday. So this is a piece that is very new. I have never actually made anything like this, and it's a lot easier than it looks. But that's not the reason I'm showing it to you right now. What I'm talking about right now is memory wire. Some of you have made these snowflakes with, or maybe not these, but the other snowflakes with memory wire. And you know how it works. You know not to cut it with your regular cutter. So please don't ever use your good cutter for memory wire. But anyway, so memory wire can come in different shapes. Sometimes you see it as a snowflake. Sometimes you see it as a bracelet. Sometimes not as popular, but sometimes you see it in a smaller shape that's meant to be for a ring. Sometimes it's even used for a necklace. So whatever type of memory wire you are using, make sure you don't use your regular cutter on memory wire. And now, this is very exciting, you guys. So this is the memory wire that is just straight, and we are going to use it for our icicles. So why is that exciting? Well, if you have made icicles with regular wire before, maybe 20 gauge or maybe 18 gauge wire, first of all, some of the beads do not fit on 18 gauge wire, so you have to use a thinner 20 gauge wire. And then it's a bit bendy. However, when you do this with memory wire, as you know, memory wire just holds its shape. Yes, you can bend it a little, but it has a memory, so it just springs right back to its very straight shape. So that is the exciting thing that we are doing this year. So it's a bit harder to bend. So I do have a little trick for you. And if you watched me last week when I made the snowflakes, you already know the trick. So why don't I move some of these and we are going to get started. So what I'll do is, actually, I will just keep one icicle on my table. And I'm going to be making an icicle very similar to this one. What did we call this icicle, Tony?
Golden scroll.
Golden scroll.
I think.
Fantastic. Okay, so I believe you're right. I think it's,
yes.
I hope you guys can see the very, very delicate, very beautiful designs on the beads. And it looks kind of scroll-like. It looks almost like the types of designs you would see in wrought iron. And it's just very delicate and very spirally. It's very pretty. So I love this design and I love this bead. And so today we're going to make something very similar, but we're going to use these rainbow beads. And so this is going to be our rainbow scroll. And it has so many different colors in it. It has purples and blues and golds and pinks. So it's really fun. And the construction is going to be exactly the same. And we are going to start by bending our memory wire with our regular flat nose pliers. And I tried to make the bottom loop. So there's going to be a bottom loop and a top loop. And the bottom loop is going to be a little smaller than the top loop, and that's how we know. So we're just going to use our flat nose pliers to make a 90-degree angle. Okay, so this is just a bit more than a 90-degree angle, but that's okay.
Fonda is wondering if we have the straight memory wire in the brick and mortar store.
Fonda, that's a really great question. Yes, but with reservations. So I think we got just enough to make all these kits because I kind of went crazy with the different designs. And in fact, I'm actually hoping to make a few more. But we are going to get more memory wire. We already have it on order. And yes, we will have it in the brick and mortar store, but it'll take a few days. And I know we're getting close to the holidays, but just give us a few days and it's coming. Okay, and I will say the same about the Etsy shop. So we're hoping once we get our other shipment, we will list the memory wire so that you can also play with your own beads.
Janice says, I didn't know that there was straight memory wire.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so I'm using my round nose and making a loop. And you'll have to work a little bit at making this loop, but you don't have to make the entire loop with your round nose pliers. So because I went a little further than my normal 90-degree, I had to work a little more. But once you get to the point where the loop is not, well, it looks like a loop, but it's not quite closed, this is when we switch to our crimping pliers. This is just our regular crimper, and yes, I'm going to use the opening that's closest to the tip, or the oval opening. And I'm just going to bring the sides of the loop together and close it. Do you see how nicely that works with your crimping pliers? It's really awesome.
Pammy J says, hello, everyone.
Hi, Pammy J. I'm so glad you joined us today.
Gloria says, hi, Irina.
Hi, Gloria, and thanks for joining us. All right, guys, so I have my first bead on. And so this is like a little cone, and I love these cones. They're so very versatile. In fact, I'll be doing another project very, very soon with these cones. It'll be a surprise. And so the cone has a standard hole. So we just string it on. And now, before we start stringing all of our other beads, I will point out that our beautiful scroll beads, these are absolutely gorgeous, and they have a very large hole. So for this project, obviously, we don't need a very large hole. In fact, it's maybe just a tiny bit of a hindrance, but we can work with that because with every kit, we are including some wire. With most kits, we only give you 4 inches, and I will explain why in a little bit, because I will do a little show and tell with every one of the icicles. But I chose this particular kit to demo on because all of these beads have a really large hole. And so this allows me to make the point that I want to make. And this will definitely make things easier for you guys. So to compensate, oh, and by the way, we're also using these absolutely lovely vintage rondelles. I call them asymmetrical rondelles. And yes, these are vintage. I don't believe you can get these anymore. We scored a huge stash of these, which someday will come to an end. But for now, we are all enjoying these. They're very fun to design with. And so this too has a rather large hole. So that works out very well for us for this project because both beads have about the same size hole. And I'm going to take this wire, this is a 22 gauge wire, and I am just going to spiral up most of my memory wire. It doesn't have to be a neat spiral. Don't spend a lot of time on it. As you can see, I'm being very, very casual with this because no one will ever see it. So you can see sometimes the spacing is a little closer, sometimes it's a little further away. And I'm going to use this little end right here and go in the direction of the cone. And once I get to the cone and I can't go any further, all I'm going to do is just snip off the excess wire. So what this is going to do, and of course I'll tuck in the end, although on this project, if you were to forget to tuck it in, it's not a big deal because the beads will just cover the entire thing. So I'm not going to spiral the entire memory wire because I want to stop just short of the second cone. So I'm going to stop for now, and I can always add a little more in a bit. But in the meantime, we are going to string our beads and our rondelles. So all I'm doing is just bringing my 22 gauge wire super close to the memory wire. And it's a very, very simple pattern. We have a rondelle, and then we have a bead. And then guess what? We have another rondelle, and then we'll have another bead. So what I did in making this icicle is, let me just point this out. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4 rondelles are facing one way, and then we get to the center bead, and then the rondelles are facing the other way, and this way they're also framing that center bead. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to continue stringing in the very same way. And so my first 4 rondelles are going to be towards the center. And well, in fact, my last 4 rondelles are also going to be towards the center bead. But right after we string our center bead, which is right here, we are simply going to change the direction of our rondelles. So this is what it looks like.
Kim K says, happy Thursday, beautiful beads. Those rondelles are amazing.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. And happy Thursday to you as well. Thursday is a good day, as are all the other days, right? And how do you guys like the snow? My goodness, we got a lot of snow today and yesterday, I think, too. And wow, it's just like it went from fall to winter in about a day here in Wisconsin.
I think the snow missed those in watching from warmer states.
I know, you guys are lucky, but I will say it is very pretty. It's so pretty. Okay, so I'm chatting here, and I actually got to, let me backtrack. So I got to the spot where my coil ends. So it looks like I need just a little bit more coil, just enough. Okay, and so everything is kind of spinning. So because it is spinning, I'm going to hold on to, or actually maybe it's not going to work very well. I'm just going to hold on to the wire itself.
Patricia says, hello, everyone.
Hi, Patricia, and thank you for joining us. Okay, guys, so this is probably as much coil as I'm going to need. So here goes my last rondelle.
Sandy says this is a wonderful ornament.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I have to say, I really love making these. I know people enjoy. Okay, so I went just a little tiny bit too far. No problem. We're just going to scrunch this up a bit, or you can undo a little bit. That is okay too. And okay, I'm just scrunching. So I know it's a wonderful tradition where people exchange ornaments for Christmas. And so you take out these very, very special ornaments every year, and it makes you think of people who made them for you. So as you can see, I am at the point where I have my very last bead on here, and I'm about to string my last rondelle. So we could probably have like another little tiny coil, and then we're just going to cut off the remainder of our wire. And oh, I'm sorry.
Barb says, do you have far to go home from the store? Snow was really coming down in Brookfield earlier. Bad roads.
Barb, thank you so much for being concerned for us. Honestly, we have 4 minutes. We literally have exactly 4-minute drive to get home. Okay, so you can see that little tiny bit of wire sticking out. That's totally fine. And
Patricia says, we got snow last Saturday in Belleville, Illinois, 6 inches. The day before was 80.
oh my goodness.
It's kind of what happened the other day.
Wow, it is kind of what happened the other day. We went hiking one day, it was 77, and then the very next day it was really cold, and then the day after it snowed. Okay, guys, so we're going to put our last bead on. So you remember the cone bead is the one that does not need the coil inside. And once you get all these beads, you will look at the size of the holes and you will figure out exactly what needs the wire and what does not need the wire. And I will do a little show and tell about that.
Patricia says, beautiful ornaments.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Isn't this fun?
Julie says, hi, missed the notification.
Hi, Julie. I am so sad that you missed the notification, but I'm glad you're here now, and you can always watch the beginning of the video. Not that there's a whole lot of technique here. Okay, so now we are going to finish our icicle. So the one thing about memory wire, as most of you know, I'm sure, is that it's pretty hard. And the thing is, if we were to start making our loop right next to the bead, we would most definitely crack our bead. We want to avoid that. So, because we want to preserve our beautiful bead and not, not crack it with our tool, we are going to start maybe like 3 millimeters above the bead. Right, so about 3 millimeters from the bead. And I'm just going to make a 90-degree angle, just as I did before. And what I did is I figured out the lengths for each one. So we slightly pre-cut your memory wire so that you actually do not have to cut anything off. So if you have a memory wire cutter and you want to cut a little bit off, that's completely fine. But I figured out the exact lengths so that when you make these, you get a nice big loop for your hanging loop. So you start out with a little loop for the first one, right? And then for the hanging loop, you have a nice big loop. So we are just going to align it. Actually, I didn't even have to use my crimper for this loop, but you remember, we can always use the crimper to close the loop. So this is what it looks like. So one thing about doing it this way on memory wire, well, first of all, I absolutely love doing it on memory wire because it will keep its shape. There's a slight disadvantage with using the memory wire, and that is you have to leave that little bit of space. So now the space doesn't exactly bother me, as you can see here. Let me show you. Let the gravity be my friend, right? And I'm just letting everything slide down. So if you look very, very closely at the top of the icicle, you can see that there's maybe 1 millimeter or 2 right here of space, right? So if it doesn't bother you, great. It certainly does not bother me. But if it does bother you, we are just going to use a little bit of that same 22 gauge wire and just make a little coil. So I ended up, so I guess it's about 2, maybe 2.5 millimeters that I had left on top. So I ended up with 3 coils. And however many coils you end up with, that is just fine. That is the right number of coils. So I'm simply going to snip these off. And yes, I am using my regular cutters because I am not working with memory wire right now. So all I have to do is just pinch the very ends of the wire in, and that's it. Now nothing is moving. And you could do this on both ends, or you could just do this on one end. The memory wire is more of like a steel color, and this will give you a little accent that is bright silver. So I guess I kind of like that little accent in bright silver. So on the gold scroll icicle, I guess I have a little coil at the top and at the bottom. Can you guys see this? So I must have had a little bit more space. And so it's whatever. It's either just let it move a little bit if it doesn't bother you, or you can do just the top or just the bottom, or you can do both. Okay, so let me now do a little show and tell.
Sylvia says, I love the gold.
Oh, thank you so much, Sylvia. I love both of them. I don't actually know which one I like better.
Sabrina
I think
says,
the gold is a bit more classic.
Sabrina says, very beautiful ornament.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. So, so let me do a little show and tell here before we move on to the snowman. So here is Santa's sleigh, as the colors would suggest. And this is a bit of a redesign from last year. It's so what's really exciting with using memory wire, can you guys tell I'm very excited about this? So what's exciting about using it is that I can actually make these icicles longer. When I was using regular wire, I don't think I had anything longer than maybe 4.5, 5 inches. And now they're just a little bit over 6 inches. So I think that's a bit exciting. And so we can have a little more length. It's a little more impactful. So I think that's fun.
Pammy J is wondering, is 20 gauge too thick to do the coil?
Well, 20 gauge is a little bit bigger, and I guess it's not, you know, if you like 20 gauge, that's great. If you like 24 gauge, that's great too. But what I find that I really like is 22. I would say 22 gauge is my favorite one for this type of use. But as you know, with wire, you can generally fudge things and go up a gauge or go down a gauge, and it normally works out. Okay, and so this is what I would like to tell you. So when you make Santa's sleigh or evergreen icicle, these, as you can see, they're pretty much the same in the type of bead that we're using. And in making these, because the beads, and I don't have the beads here to show you, but these beads, they're actually vintage beads. They're very beautiful. They're vintage German beads. They're from the 1950s, and they have a standard hole. So you really do not have to use wire on the inside at all, either with the Evergreen, which is right here, or with Santa's sleigh. Even though we're using those larger hole asymmetrical rondelles, you still don't have to do it, because the beads pretty much keep the rondelle in place. And the only time they don't keep it in place is if there's a lot of sliding, depending on the size loop you have or the size loop you make. And that, of course, can always be remedied with a little coil, again, either at the top, the bottom, or both. And you do have wire included in those kits. So again, if you're going to use any wire at all, it's not going to be on the inside of the beads. It's going to be just at the ends, and that is very much optional. And now we get to our Caribbean Dream. So I love this piece. I love the ammonite. I think it's very, very fun. And I will point out that we have Swarovski crystals in this particular icicle. I think that makes it kind of fun too. Nice and sparkly. And very importantly, on this ornament, the extra wire, the 22 gauge wire, is on the inside of the ammonite. Nothing else needs the extra wire, just the ammonite on the inside. If you can make that kind of a loose spiral or coil, everything will sit in place just the way it should. And when you get these, of course, there will be a picture, and you will see that the reason these turquoise colored, these are actually porcelain beads. The reason they're spaced this way is that there's a little glass spacer in between each one. I think that really kind of adds something to it. Okay, so that is all about the icicle, or the icicles rather. And I think we will probably list the rainbow scroll icicle sometime tomorrow. And I know I said this when we made the snowflakes, but I will just throw this out again, just a little food for thought. When you create gifts, handmade gifts like this, it's really, really special. And oh, and I almost forgot this guy. So, you know what, before I finish my thought, because I almost forgot this one, this is the gold and silver icicle. This actually uses gold rondelles as opposed to the silver ones, and there's no extra wire on the inside. Could it use a little coil at the top? Maybe I might just do that eventually. But other than that, there's no wire on the inside. So just to continue my thought really quickly, people love getting these as gifts, but also just a little idea. If you're giving a gift to somebody who either already makes jewelry or not necessarily jewelry, somebody who loves to create with their hands, sometimes the kit itself is a great gift because that allows them to have an experience as well as the ornament at the end. And this is easy enough for somebody who is just getting started.
Barb is wondering, I'm sorry I missed the very beginning, how is the straight memory wire sold? Is it sold in straight lengths?
Barb, thank you for asking. Yes, actually somebody did ask, right now we have enough memory wire for the kits, but we should be getting another shipment in a few days, and as soon as we get that in, we will list it in the Etsy shop as well as have it in our brick and mortar store. So if it's just the memory wire you're looking for, I believe it is sold, I don't remember, either in 6.5 or 7-inch lengths, and we should have it soon.
Kim K says beautiful icicles.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Hammy J says all of the icicles are so beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, guys. Should we look at the snowman? Because they're fun too. And so I'm just going to move the icicles and show you my snowman. So most of these are quite sparkly. And this is going to be a little bit of show and tell. And I will actually show you some of the ingredients that go into the snowman. And in the meantime, if you have any icicle questions at all, please let me know, as well as the snowman questions. Please let me know, because it's so easy. I just kind of assume that it's so straightforward and everybody can do it, but I don't know, maybe there's something I overlooked, and with this many pieces, I guess it wouldn't be that unusual if I were to overlook something. So please let me know. So in the meantime, I have 4 different I guess colorways or designs of snowman, and I will point out, so you will start making your snowman in the exact same way. So why don't we just make a loop? We'll make a loop, and once more I'm bending my memory wire with my flat nose pliers, and now I'm going to make the loop with my round nose pliers. So you start making the loop, and you can see it's memory wire, so I am working a little harder at making my loop, but then you don't have to create it all with your round nose, because here comes our crimper to the rescue. And look, I am just going to, this is very, very easy because it's almost like it was just made for it. You grab the loop with your crimper, and there you go. It's very easy. You bring the loop together with the crimper. And this is the smaller loop out of the 2. So the one that I'm actually going to do a little bit of a demo on is the Rustic Snowman, which I have a feeling is going to sell out today because we were not able to make very many of them. But the reason I am demoing on this one is because there's something a little quirky about it. There are actually a couple of things that are just a little bit different. Otherwise, it's very similar to making the icicle. So I am going to start stringing, and as you can see, there is a wonderful antique copper cap on the raffia bead. So here's my antique copper cap. And so this is the first thing that is going to be just a little different. You're going to have to work a little bit at pushing the memory wire. So one side seems a little easier than the other, as you saw, but it's very doable. It's not like a normal hole. It's very small, and you have to work a little bit at getting the bead onto the memory wire. So now we are going to have our second bead cap, and so these 2 bead caps are framing the bead. And you will see that I often do that in designing the snowman. I have 2 bead caps on all of these around my bottom bead. And that gives it kind of a more finished look. It almost looks a little bit Victorian. I really like that look. And then in order for our middle bead to sit really well on top of this bead cap or any rounded bead or bead cap, we're always going to use this little snowflake spacer. Can you guys see the little snowflake spacer? Here, let me just show you. It looks like a little snowflake. It's so cute. And so that is always going to be kind of like a something that helps balance the next bead. So here is the next bead. And then on all of these snowman, I have a little scarf. And so the little scarf is usually a rondelle. So in this case, it's that bright red rondelle. And so after the rondelle, we have, this is a really fun one. So this is actually a fossilized coral bead. How cool is that? Because I wanted to go with something very natural to balance the raffia bead. And this is where it gets kind of weird. The hat. I had to really jump through some interesting hoops to make the type of hat that I wanted for this guy. So here, let me show you his hat. I rather like it. And so this is what we have. We have a beautiful textured ring. And so then we have another bead cap. So it's like he has a little hat underneath his other big hat. He has two hats. Well, because it's cold. And so now finally we have his top hat, but we need that little bead cap inside the ring to hold the other parts straight. So that's how I was able to work it out. And at this point, of course, you would simply make your second loop. So a little bit of shown, and I'm not going to make the second loop right now because I would rather just tell you a little bit about some of the other beads that may need a little wire on the inside. So you see this sparkly bead. This is the sparkly Victorian snowman. And this sparkly bead has almost like a tube. I take back the almost. There's an actual tube of sorts on the inside of all of the sparkle. And as you can see, the tube has a rather large hole. So that little bit of 22 gauge wire that's included in your kit, that is so that you can spiral around the wire where the sparkly bead is going to go on. And then of course, with our Rococo snowman, the large hole bead is the turquoise colored bead, the ceramic bead. So you might want to put a little bit of wire inside, you know, again, as a spiral inside of the turquoise bead. And I believe I just told you all the ins and outs of making both the icicles and the snowman. What do you guys think? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions at all? Because this would be a great time to ask.
Pammy J says, wow, these are so creative.
Thank you so much, Pammy J. I will also point out that the other three hats are two-parters. And so I will show you. Do you guys want to see these strung? I think that would be pretty redundant. Yes, Tony is saying, yeah, let's string them. So why don't we go ahead and string them? So I think what I'll do, just for the sake of saving a little bit of time, and speaking of time, I'm going to string the Times Square snowman. And the reason, for the most part, the reason that I want to show you how they string on the memory wire is because when we get to the very top part of the snowman or the hat, it may not be quite as intuitive, so I think we'll do this.
Kim K says, love the wonderful little snow people.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that you love my little snow people. I had a lot of fun playing with them. And you know, they don't always have to be a snowman. Sometimes they're a snow woman. So this is the Times Square snowman. And again, I hope you saw I did string the little snowflake, and now we have our middle bead and our scarf and our beautiful pearly head.
Meg says, love these.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Fonda says, I love the icicles and the snowman. They're so fun.
Thank you so much. So when you get to the top, again, we have one of those awesome rondelles, those vintage rondelles, remember I told you about, and we're going to string that on, and then we have a hill bead. This is called a hill bead, and that goes on the very top. So at this point, you would make your loop. And then we have, let's see, what should we make as the next one? We have the sparkly Victorian snowman, which actually starts out in exactly the same way as the Times Square snowman. And I will say this, I know it's a bit confusing with all the different options and all the different names, but we have a link to every one of these in the description of the video. So all you have to do is just follow the link, and you'll get to your favorite snowman. How cool is that? So with this snowman, you know, I really try to vary them as much as possible. So I will say he, or maybe she. So maybe we should just call her a snow lady. She has a different hat. So this is like a fun little flower bead cap. And again, we have a hill bead. And so she has a fancy little hat.
Trudy says, sorry, I didn't hear if they are glass or crystal beads.
Trudy, so technically crystal is glass that has a little lead content in it. These do not have any lead in it. There's no lead content, but they're faceted and sparkly. So technically they're glass, but often they're referred to as crystal, but they are glass. There's no lead in these.
Clarice says, beautiful gifts for Christmas.
Thank you so much, Claire. Absolutely.
Clarice.
Oh, Clarice. Clarice. Is it Clarice or Clarice? Because I know somebody whose name is Clarice. And one more. So the last one is the Rococo snowman. And it strings in the very same way. So I generally have 2 bead caps to frame that bottom bead, and now we have the ceramic bead, and of course inside the ceramic bead you see how big the hole is. So this is where you want to add your spiraled wire, and we'll just pretend that we already did that. And now we have a little scarf, and this one is just kind of like a very classic, sparkly, crystally colorway. And we have, oh, wait a minute. I know, I forgot something. I don't know if you guys were paying attention. Clearly, I was not. So I skipped the little snowflake, and it is that little snowflake spacer that's going to make everything sit very, very nice and centered. And that is what we want to do. We want all our beads nice and centered on the wire. So now we get to the hat, and the hat consists of, again, our beautiful vintage rondelle. And then I have a lovely corrugated bead that is part of the hat, and it looks like that. So this just kind of goes with our Rococo theme. So at this point, we would make a loop. And that is about it. And I'm thinking this is so very straightforward. You guys didn't ask anything about the construction. And so I'm thinking it's very, very easy and clear. And I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks to make maybe a couple of snowmen that are maybe just in between this size and the earring size. And if you remember, the earrings, I made a couple, or maybe it was last week. Last week I made a bunch of holiday earrings, the gift earrings and the tree earrings and the snowman earrings. And so those are very tiny, tiny snowman because of course they're earrings. But I'm hoping to make some that are pendants as well. So in the meantime, this is everything that we either made today or talked about today. And so either a demo or a show and tell. So if you have any questions at all, this is the time to ask. In the meantime, this is everything that we just looked at. And for our preview, so tomorrow we are going to be making the winter solstice bracelet, and this is what it looks like. So again, this is winter solstice, and it's tomorrow, Friday, November 18th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And this is going to be on the Eclectica page. So I have this colorway, which I called gingerbread, because this beautiful little pattern, it's a very dainty kind of scrolly pattern, but it's different than the scroll on the icicles. So this reminds me of gingerbread. I hope you guys can see it. And it is actually listed now. So I know some of you have already partaken. And tomorrow I will have another colorway yet. And I think it's a very exciting colorway. I called it Starry Night, and you'll just have to wait till tomorrow to see it. And then next week, we're going to have the Shimmering Snowflake Ornament. And this is going to be on Friday, November 25th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So clearly, we will not have a video on Thursday, which of course is Thanksgiving, because we're all going to be eating turkey and sweet potatoes and whatever your family tradition is. Pie, yes, and herring, yes. Don't forget, that's my family tradition. That's right. So we'll skip next Thursday. And one other quick announcement is I will have my fine silver jewelry trunk show on Sunday, November 27th. And this is going to be at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on my Facebook page. And there's going to be a link to that as well. So if you like my jewelry, which is the fine silver, again, this is probably a good time of the year for it, and that is actually why I'm having the trunk show. This is my traditional pre-holiday trunk show of my jewelry.
Gloria says, beautiful pieces, Irina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gloria. I really appreciate it.
Meg says, oh, that's gorgeous. Can't wait.
Thank you. Are you talking about the snowflake? I'm so excited to show this to you guys. I have to share. So when we were in Madison, this very, very lovely customer of ours, I'll just say her first name. I don't think she'll mind. Her name is Gail, and she brought me a little gift, and it was a snowflake that was very similar to this one. And I thought, oh my gosh, what a great idea. And I did ask her if it would be okay if I taught it in one of the videos, and she said absolutely. And so thank you, Gail, for the idea. And we'll be doing this next Friday. It's actually easier than it looks, so I just wanted you guys to know that.
Mary says, what? No donuts? This one time.
This one time. No, I'm sure we will have some really delicious dessert.
Kim K says, love it all. Thanks so much for sharing, Irina. I love the snowflake too.
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And thank you for your awesome comments. And I will see you tomorrow morning, and we'll make the solstice bracelet. In the meantime, have a wonderful and creative evening.